مرحبا جميعا, hello تسوزامن, всем привет, and hello everyone. Strikoder here, welcome back to a new episode. In this episode we're gonna solve a medium Linux machine on HackTheBox called Principal. So let's get started. Um, Let me get the IB, export all, um, this IB, and then I'm going to run Nmap. While Nmap is running, please make sure to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe. And we have over here port 8080, so I'm going to go and check that in here, port 8080, and we see a web interface. So only two ports are open. With 8080 I'm going to use FAF. We don't have a vhost, right? We don't. So FAF with the IB. We can't check for the vhost with wfuzz. So I'm going to remove this for now. And FAF has errors because it's not 8080. So we see a couple of stuff. We can try and check with what is the application is using. We see pac4j-jwt 6.0.3. So that's probably is being fingerprinted by Nmap as well. Let me check. So here it shows Jetty, and here is the pac4j as well. And in here we see powered by pac4j as well. So I always like to check the source code and to check Nmap. So we have SSH port 8080, 404. We get a timestamp. Okay, that's not bad. And the WhatWeb is showing us the Jetty again. We can use as well the Wapalizer, but it's not showing us the version that we got through WhatWeb. Maybe we can get that through the header in burp. So I would run burp and use Foxy proxy. I'm going to intercept and to switch that to 8081. Moving into here, refresh, and let's send that. We see powered by pac4j as well, so they are getting that from the header. Okay, nothing new. So what I would personally do, try to check if there is sign up. There is not any sign up. Maybe check. So we have access to login and dashboard. Let's try dashboard. Maybe we could access that. Wait a minute. So we accessed that for a while and we got redirected. So we get this, but there is nothing about the dashboard, no versions, no anything. And then probably we are getting redirected. That's okay. It's cool. What do we get as well? I mean, that's it. So we are probably stuck with the web interface. We can try admin or 1 equals 1. maybe anything like password, try to remember me. I'm going to intercept that, send that into repeater to save it, and turn the intercept off. Authentication required. Maybe I forget password to try XSRF. It's not implemented. What is the endpoint? So reset password in here. So we are pretty stuck with the web application with no any other directories, no robots.txt to check if there is any other endpoints. So we're gonna check the source code before switching to searching for pac4j-20 or 603. So here almost HTML, CSS stuff. Here is the footer, and we see only one JavaScript included, so it's not WordPress or anything that would include JavaScript by default or just for standard. So we might get something from here. We see the same version in here, so that's okay. And we see user submits credentials to ABI auth login. Let's try that. I just wanted to see how we submit them. So then the server returns encrypted JWT, Java Web Token, and then the JWE, the encrypted one, token is stored and set as a barrier token for subsequent request. Token handling, so they are encrypted through these. The public key available in here. So I just pretty much try to enumerate everything in here and to take note of them. So we see a JWT encrypted by RSA with this value, an encrypted value for token verification is signed by this. Okay. So the sub, the role, ISS, IAT, the epochs, or the expiration. So if you are not familiar with JWT, I mean, I'm not familiar that much with it. I don't have that much experience with web applications. But we can Google that and we see Java tokens. Is this the website I'm searching for? I don't think so. Create JWT online maybe. Yeah, that's the website. So in here we can, I prefer the encoder one rather than the decoder. We can change the algorithm like RSA 256 or maybe only RS. Nah. But we don't get anything. Maybe let's try. So here are the algorithms. We need to change something below. I wonder why it didn't work. However, we can see we changed the algorithm and the type and the data. So most of the time admin or admin role, or you would change in here and get the encoded one and paste it into the, that's why I like to keep them. We can make auth barrier. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't remember how maybe with the capital B. So you would add the token in here, but our web application is not providing the token in the header. So we need to search for that manually. Oops. I messed something up. Okay, however, we needed to add them in here. So that's the JWT thing. And we see, I'm going to close this or maybe leave that open. So this is the same one. There is a login and API dashboard. Let's try the login. Maybe the API dashboard. So barrier. So we need the token. We would take this token and encrypt that to get the token. But however, we need to bypass that in order to get into the dashboard without any authentication. So here we see the role admin, role manager, role user. So most likely we'll get the role admin. And here is the token management. So they are taking the auth token from the session storage. Session storage is in here. We can add auth token, and for example, just for example, we can take this, but that won't work, and paste that into here. I'm just going to give it a shot. We can either try to authenticate to API-login or the casual web interface, so we are not logged in. Where do we go from here? So we have the ball by pac4j. Maybe it has some kind of vulnerability. pac4j v120, maybe exploit. So there is an authentication bypass and critical. GitHub exploit. In text, GitHub. I don't see that in here. So I have written a code for that. Strikoder exploit. It's not being shown through Google, so I just Google Strikoder and get into the GitHub. Into the repos. Here is it. So it's being named after the CVE. And instead of reading the README, I would like to read the code. So let me get the code. Then CVE 2026 2930 .python. I'm going to paste that in here and start from the beginning. So in this CVE, there are specific versions of pac4j that are variable. We import all the libraries, so the code is written in Python, and we fetch the JWK. We have already the link where we could fetch that from, which is API auth JWK, and the valid rules. So most likely we would get the role admin. So how do we build the plain JWT or the Java Web Token. That's why I left this open. So in that case, we need the algorithm, the type, the sub, the name, the admin. So here are they. In the header, this is the decoder header, and this is the body, so, or the payload itself in here. So the header, for this specific vulnerability, our algorithm in the header in the JWT should be none. Why? Because if we check the pac4j CVE 2026-29000, there is there is a blog where all people refer to. I believe it was by CodeAnt. Let me get the link. So I'll provide that in the description below by the Amartya. So in here, it explains the vulnerability, and down below we see, let me check. Here is the authorization barrier. Where is it? Here is it. So the issue is if the signed JWT is not equal to null, it will verify signature. Otherwise, it would not verify that. That's why we are leaving that null and getting the authentication bypass. So the sub, we can enter any username we want. We can change the role. There are default I believe in the program I left the default role is role admin. The issuer, these are just to fill the JWT, just like in here. So you can change them. Here is the time for this issue at. And then we make the token. And then we make the JWE, the encrypted one that our program uses. And we get the algorithm and the encryption from here. So this is the algorithm and this is the encryption used for this specific program. And we make then the JWE based on the JWT that we got. And we enter that in our browser. And here all the other stuff are just for the output. So this is the Python code. You can check that on the GitHub of my account, or just Google Strikoder CVE 2026-29000. I'm going to run that by uv run CVE. So it's going to download the missing packages and dash URL HTTP. I'm going to paste this. And then the JWKs are put in the API auth JWKs. So they either be here or at the well-known JWK JSON, or you can search in robots.txt if they are not included in both of these, or you can just search for through FOF and try to enumerate the directory. Then the user, we can leave that as the default one. The role is role admin for the default one. Then dash encryption, and I'm going to get the encryption for our program. This is the token, and I'm going to paste that in here. Try to refresh the page. Do we get the token in here? Okay, so it's not for all pages. Let me get that here. Again, add it. Auth token, right? Then the value would be the value we got. Fingers crossed, and we are in. So we see cert issued action for the SVC deploy. So there was a certificate for SSH connection deployed for the service deploy. Here actually we see all the users, we can get them, and let's try that. Them users.txt, I'm going to paste SVC deploy, this user, administrator. I'm not going to paste admin, since probably would connect by SSH. Okay. So here we see their other no, I thought these are the usernames. However, if we were in an active directory, I would get the usernames as well and try to first initial, last name, or first name, last name, first initial, last name, last initial, first name, and so on. There is a program specific for that. So on, so good. I mean, we get more usernames in here. I would get them all, but probably not gonna waste my time on them. Here is the recent activity. In the settings, do we see anything? So we see a note that SSH certificate configure for automation, and in the opt principal SSH. Okay. Here we see the same thing. Encryption key. So this is probably a password. So in that case, let me get that. I'm going to make export all pass is equal to this. In this case, either the password should be the same as the username or this pass. So crit spray, you can check that on GitHub as well. User.txt, or you can just use an XC, since crit spray is just a bash script using an XC under the hood. Yep, and I would try that on the SSH. So best case scenario, we'll get an SSH deployment on the machine. Am I using the correct? Yep, it is the correct one. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a little bit. See you once it finishes. Oh, it already finished. That's cool. So none of them is actually the correct one. That's interesting. Okay, so I ran NXC a couple of times and I discovered that the password is messed up. So export all pass is equal to this echo pass. Now let's try again. SSH. So the program is messing with the password. I'm going to fix that later. So nxc ssh ib dash u. That's why you don't need to always depend on the scripts rather than using other tools. So you need to be fluent in all the tools that maybe like if nxc failed as well, I can try maybe Hydra. So users.text, I believe you need capital U for that, and dash B for the pass. Maybe no, I'm wrong. So we have a shell. I wonder why. I need to check the script and edit that on GitHub. However, let's try ssh-b, I believe, b, um, ssh pass, yeah, dash b, um, I believe it was like this, yeah, then ssh user at ib, and we didn't get a shell. Why is that? Okay, I'll just leave it like this. Yes. Then paste the pass. If I could. Are you kidding me? So what's happening in here? So the user is svc deploy. The IB is correct. And I would copy this, paste that into here. And I'm still not in. Why is that? So I discovered the issue because we have space in here. Let me connect again. Paste the password. Are you kidding me? So D3PL0Y underscore $$ H underscore NOW42 exclamation mark. Come on, man. I'm going to reset the machine, maybe because I'm on the free server I cannot connect. Okay, so let's get the new IB, export all, IB is equal to this, then SSH user IB, yes. Let me go into here, copy this, paste that in here, then copy only this part. Yes, that what we want. So let's see. Is it because of the $sign? Export pass is equal to this SSH pass. So permission denied. Maybe with the wrong pass. We get the same error. Yeah, so the password is wrong. Let's try it like that now. Like why I can't connect? HTTP. So currently echo IB 8080. Okay, we need to authenticate again. The password is not going to change, so I'm going to try NXC with this password. So it's working, but the SSH is not connecting to it. Alrighty. And after troubleshooting for a while, I got the issue. The issue is that IB is not added to the Etsy hosts. So most of the time SSH, when the IB is not added to the Etsy hosts, it would cause the issue of not being authenticated. So what we can do is SSH pass -b password SSH user at, then I would copy the IB, and we still get that wrong. Maybe if we put the single quotation in here. Actually, no, we need to put the password in clear text. So the issue is this failed is because of the $signs. So we need to make that like this. Fingers crossed, and we should be in. What? What is the user? So the user is oh my gosh. I didn't export the user. Okay, now it makes sense. So now we are in. Oof. ID, as we see deploy, and we see we are a group of deployers. LS, we have the user flag. I'm going to copy that, put that into here. So we are not in a Docker container. However, we have a strange group, and it's after the 1000, so it's a custom group. Sudo -l. We cannot access that. ps aux. At least we can see the processes. Where do we go from here? Lastly, we can see, so we can read the bash history, but it's empty. We see the .ssh as we deploy, so we most likely would get the access to root. Okay, so where do we go from here? We can check the running processes and see for 1 minute what cron jobs is running and so on, but I prefer to start with the deployers. We can try find here maybe a group. Deployers, and then all the errors to dev null. It's gonna take a while since it's going to search for the folders and the files that are owned by deployer. You can try for svc deploy. So we see in the etc SSH something owned by that, and in the opt I forgot to type the cat. So we see I'm not authenticated. Yeah, we are out. However, we saw that opt directory before, so it's the third time we see that. They are in opt. Let me go to opt. What do we have in here? Containered. Let's check the containered at first. We have no access. So maybe we would switch from SVC deploy to a normal user, then from the user to a root. So let me cat etc password and grep uh, -ish. Actually, no. Nah, we'll just stick to deploy and from deploy get to root. Okay. ls lah, maybe with r. So there are a lot of, actually not a lot. So app deploy SSH. The app has data source target and it's pretty much empty. There are a couple of Java stuff. Okay, fav icon, the app.js. We are not interested in the app that much. So let's check deploy. So we have either the app or the SSH. So in app, I'm going to grep here for -i pass in here. Recursively. So in the target classes application properties, we see principal DB, netstat dash tunnel B. There is no netstat. Okay, we can get Ligolo and make port forward to check if there are any database. I mean, so far I see this password. So switch user, since we only have root, like this. Yeah, like this. I always forget how to use super user or switch user to be more accurate. So it's pretty much a dead end. Let's get back and let's see the SSH, cat the readme. So we are using, it's a key pair certificate SSH automation. Actually, let's get them. So cd into root to delete, where I keep my stuff for this box. We don't have a key yet, but we have the password. It's going to be svc svc deploy. Am I right? So I want to get this svc deploy this into here, and the IB is this, and the password, I probably should keep that somewhere else. This is the password. So that is not the password we need. Should be like this. So we need everything in here. Can we put like this? Yes, we can. So now we have the certificate authority, private key, and the public key. And the readme again, it tells us this CA is trusted by SSHD that we saw for certificate-based authentication. Use deploy.sh to issue short-lived certificates for service accounts. Where do we have the the deploy.sh? Locate.sh, find -f deploy.sh, like this, and actually we have a lot of deploys sh, or I'm using the find dash file, I believe. I forgot how to use find. But let me check. Do I need to use man? There is no man in here. I'm so embarrassed. I forgot how to use find. Find in Linux to find files. Dash name. So it didn't find anything called deploy.sh. I mean, okay. So in that case, we would use them with SSH keygen -t. So usually I would use RSA, but when we connected SSH, oh my gosh, SSH dash SSH bus. So when we connected through SSH bus, it showed us, is it in here? Not in here. Get Nmap. Why not everything working like I really want? Cat Nmap full and get up. So here and the SSH showed us that we can either connect by ECDSA or ED25519. Let me get here 25519. So it's not showing that. However, we need to use one of them. RSA will not work. So I would use ED25519. I recall you can see the video again and check when we connected first time through the SSH and type yes. I believe they specified I'm pretty sure they specified the SSH key, and -f, which box was that? I cannot recall. I would call that SSH_root, no passphrase, and now we have our file, then SSH-keygen -s for the certificate. We type the certificate authority that we got, and then I would call that strylabel, and -n for root, the user that we want to log in as, SSH_root, unprotected, 600, the SSH root, the CA1, chmod, 600 on the CA. Nice. Now SSH -i SSH root at IB. Fingers crossed, we are in. Are we in a container? No, we are not. Cat root.txt. So this was it. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.